Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. This weekend, on the 30th of September, Jordan Thompson will make an audacious attempt at Jay Opetaia's IBF World Cruiserweight title, which I believe Opetaia also holds the Ring Magazine belt as well. And there's no doubt that Opetaia is the favourite. Why is he the favourite? 6'2" southpaw from Australia. His last fight was 14 months ago against Mairis Briedis. He won a surprising unanimous decision over 12 rounds. That was over in Australia. I think the scores were something like a couple of 116s, 112 and a 115, 113. But he did suffer a jaw that was broken in two places, and hence the reason he's been out for a long time. There was some talk of him fighting Richard Riakporhe, but Boxer pulled Riakporhe out of the purse bids. So he kind of been messed around. It hasn't been an easy year for the guy from Australia. But all credit to him for beating Briedis. I mean, that was a real upset. And he, again, he came through a double fracture to his jaw. Especially interesting when you consider that in 2021 he only had one 3-round knockout over a guy who had a 7-2-2 record. And prior to that in 2020 he only had one fight, and that was a 6-round stoppage over another Aussie fighter who had a 13-1-2 record. So in terms of the last 3 years, Opetaia has only had 3 fights, and yes, one of them was against Briedis and he went the distance, and it was a brilliant performance, a courageous performance, but he hasn't been the most active of fighters. Now, Jordan Thompson from Manchester in England, 6'6", tall for the weight, cruiserweight, 30 years of age. He's fought this year. He fought against Luke Watkins, who I believe was at the time the English champ, former Commonwealth champ. Stopped him in 6 rounds. In 2022, he had 2 fights. One was against Vasil Dukar, who's a pretty good sort of European level gatekeeper. The IBF European Cruiserweight title was on the line for what that's worth. But Thompson was down in the 10th round and looked very, very rocky. It was fortunate that was the 10th round. And then he had I can't remember the name of the opponent, but he had that was also in 2022. He had a 2-round stoppage. In 2021, he had a couple of fights against low-level guys. I mean, one of them was undefeated, but hadn't fought anyone. He stopped him in 1 round, and he also stopped another guy in 1 round. So, he didn't fight in 2020 either. I guess maybe that was a lockdown thing. I don't know. But he's been busier than Opetaia, but not, you wouldn't call him ultra busy. And also it was quite disturbing that knockdown against Dukar in the final round. I mean, he really was ragged by the end of that fight. It's just as well it was a 10-round fight. So there is a question mark over Thompson's chin, I think. But an orthodox fighter at 6'6", he's going to present some problems. When Riakporhe pulled out of the fight, in jumps Thompson. Riakporhe, a boxer fighter. Thompson is DAZN. He's a matchroom fighter, and it's really an opportunity out of the blue for Jordan Thompson. And contrary to what people are saying, I think he can win it. I think that the fact that Opetaia is much shorter, has not been active, has with the exception of Briedis, fought very low opposition, hasn't got many rounds under his belt. I'm not sure how old Opetaia is. Was he 30 roughly the same age as Thompson? He's travelling out of Australia for, I think he's had a couple of fights abroad before, but very early on in his career. One of them might have been in Mexico or somewhere like that, I seem to have read. He's coming to England to fight Jordan Thompson at Wembley Arena. Okay, Thompson's from Manchester, not London, but at the same time, it does create an interesting dynamic. How will Opetaia travel? How will he handle the pressure? It's a long old journey from Australia. I mean, it's virtually a day's travel. So one would assume he's already here. I mean, I'm recording this video on Wednesday the 27th. The fight's on the 30th. But you do take time to acclimatise with that long journey. I've never been to Australia. I've never had... But even when I've travelled, you know, 12 hours on a plane, it takes a few days to recover. And if you're going to have a fight against a previously undefeated, you know, 6'6" cruiserweight, you better be on your game. There's also the fact that with Opetaia, we kind of know what he's about. We know how good he can be, and we know the problems he gave Bradis. Even though I think Bradis may have taken him a little lightly, and also the travel to Australia for Bradis may have taken something out of him. Bradis hasn't fought since he lost to Opetaia. Now, I would say that Jordan Thompson has an ideal opportunity here to make all his dreams come true. And he's unorthodox compared to a southpaw. And yes, there is a question mark over his chin. But I can see him making life very, very difficult for Opetaia. Now, if this was a 10-round fight, I might be tempted to pick Jordan Thompson, because I do think he is going to, the length, the range, he does fight small sometimes, Thompson, and Opetaia is 6'2", so he's not small, but it's, I suppose, standard height for a cruiser. I think it will take the ring rusty Opetaia a long while to figure out Thompson. Over 10 rounds, I might be tempted to pick Thompson. To be honest with you, I can see him outpointing in a close fight Opetaia. So who am I going to go for? Again, I only do predictions on fights that I think are really difficult to predict, because they're the fights we look forward to, and I am looking forward to this one. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Opetaia is going to walk through him or smash him up. Okay, Opetaia is undefeated in 22 fights, no draws, no defeats, and 17 KOs. So he does have a bit of wallop, but if you look through his record, they're low-level guys. And okay, Thompson, 15 wins, no draws, no defeats, 12 KOs. He hasn't exactly fought a barrage of killers, far from it. I mean, most of them have been journeymen or just low-level guys. But he's been busier. I think the Watkins run around and the 10-rounder against Ducar. In fact, that the fight against Ducar was, I think, a month or two after Opetaia's fight with Bradis. So you can say that since Bradis has fought, Thompson's had 16 rounds under his belt. And I think there's a lot to be said for being busy. Okay, I can go for Thompson. Good God, I'm tempted. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for that knockdown against Ducar, I probably would pick Thompson, but I just have this question mark over his head about his punch resistance. And yet Opetaia has been inactive. Here's what right, this is going to be my prediction, and I don't say this with any confidence at all. I think Opetaia will win a split decision over Thompson. Maybe a majority, might be controversial, but I think he'll have some very, very uneasy moments where he's being outboxed, maybe even outfought. There's going to be a question mark over his head regarding the jaw, busted in two places. He's going to have some rust on him. But I think the overall quality that we've seen from Opetaia and the guts he showed against Bradis will probably bring him through. But I do not. Maybe a late stoppage, 10, 11, 12. But I'm gonna say no. Jordan Thompson is his stock will rise in this fight, and I can see him lasting the distance and losing a close one. But even if he does get stopped late, I think his stock will still rise. He's gonna come of age, I think, a little bit. He's 30, so he's in his prime. But then so is Opetaia. Difficult one to pick. I'm going to pick Opetaia to win on points, but again, I don't say it with any confidence whatsoever. But this is a fight I'm looking forward to. People are saying Jordan Thompson's going to get brushed aside. I don't get that at all. I've heard so many people say that, and I just don't understand it. I just don't agree with that. But what do you think? I think this is a really good fight coming up. But leave your comments below. I think this is on DAZN. Yeah. Anyway, don't quote me on that. I think it would be. I think Thompson's a DAZN fighter, and they brought him over. Thompson's a Matchroom fighter. Anyway, leave your comments below. I want to hear your opinions. This is a difficult one to pick for me. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think, Opetaia, why, brush him aside. Or maybe you think Thompson will spring an upset for the reasons I've given, or maybe I haven't said something that you think. So let me know. Opinions below. I always enjoy reading your comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button. And, spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Nice one. Speak again soon. Bye for now.